Planning Commission is now called to order at the time of 6 p.m. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll for determination of a quorum?
Here.
Commissioner Lavelle.
Here.
Vice Chair Fisher.
Here.
Chair LaPaglia. Let the record reflect all members are present with the excused absence of Chair LaPaglia and Commissioner King.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Harlan, Commissioner Harlan, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
My pleasure. Will you please rise and right hands over your heart? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Harlan. We'll now be moving on to the approval of the agenda. Madam Secretary, are there any changes to the agenda?
Seeing none.
Thank you. I'd like to call for a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion, Lavelle. Second, Harlan.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lavelle.
Aye.
Commissioner Harlan.
Aye.
Vice Chair Fisher.
Aye.
Let the record reflect motion carries 4-0.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 3-0.
3-0. At this time, we will take public comments. Any person may address the Planning Commission on any subject pertaining to city business which does not relate to any item listed on the agenda. Normally, no action may be considered or taken by the Planning Commission on any matter not listed on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Madam Secretary, do we have any non-agenda public comments?
Seeing none.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We are now moving on to the approval of the minutes. The public hearing, thank you, moving on to approval. I don't have any. Approval of the minutes. Madam Secretary?
There's no minutes at this time.
No minutes. All right, thank you very much. The public hearing tonight is a development plan permit 2022-2263 / conditional use permit 2022-2484 for personal storage. Are there any members of the Planning Commission that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? Seeing none, we will move on to the staff presentation. Staff, may we have your staff report?
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Fisher and Commissioners. My name is Farah Bolacan. I'll be conducting tonight's presentation for item number 1 on the hearing agenda. I would like to also introduce Brian Stevenson here, traffic engineer, and Dennis Watts, senior planner, next to me. Additionally, I believe the wrong case number for the development plan was mentioned during the introduction. I'd like to correct that for the record to DP-2022-2483. 2483.
Noted, please.
So to begin, the project site is located east of the Interstate 215 and west of Whitewood Road. It's approximately 3.52 acres in site, and it's relatively a flat piece of property with the slope increasing as you head northeast towards Whitewood Road. It's partially disturbed with an existing access point to serve the southern adjacent site there. There's a multi-tenant office structure that's directly adjacent to this building that's utilizing that access, existing access driveway, as well as the existing parking stalls that you're seeing before you. As seen here in this exhibit, this is the project site identified. What you're seeing in red there is zoned community commercial. Directly south of this project site, you will see that multi-tenant space as well as public storage, which is also zoned community commercial. Across to the east on Whitewood Road, you'll see an existing single-family residential tract North adjacent to the project site, abutting directly the northerly property line here, there's a mix of open space that you'll see in green, as well as an orange zone area, which is zoned single-family residential 2, with an existing single-family tract. Across the Interstate 215, there's a mix of zoning designations here. You'll see an existing residential tract, a mix of civic institutional zone, as well as a neighborhood commercial zone. Before you, you'll see a site plan of the proposal. This proposal consists of an RV storage facility as well as a self-storage facility. The total square footage proposed for this development for self-storage is 105,640 square feet. This project is comprised of 4 different detached structures, 3 structures of which will be a 1-story structure. Buildings A, C, and D. Building B is proposed as a 3-story structure totaling to 86,358 square feet. Building A, C, and D ranges from 3,000 to 12,750 square feet. You'll also see here that there's a primary point of access is via Whitewood Road. The main entry drive aisle for this project site will be the northerly drive aisle there, where the queuing is shown before you. 3 cars are able to queue before the entry keypad, before accessing the entry keypad, which is requires a unique PIN to access the site. Additionally, it's important to note that the buildings are approximately at least 25 feet away, the setbacks 25 feet away from the easterly property line, which is Interstate 215. It's approximately at least 29 to 30 feet from the northerly property line there, abutting the residential development to the north of the site. Between the structure and the residences to the north property line, there's a proposed 6-foot-tall screen wall. This screen wall runs along the northerly property line as well as the westerly property line that you're seeing here. I'll put my cursor there. Okay, there it is. So it runs through here and right there along Whitewood Road. Additionally, these buildings are detached, so there are gaps between these buildings, and the screen wall is placed connecting buildings B and building C, as well as building C here and building D. That screen wall is running along the infiltration basin there, screening and securing the premises. Additionally, as shown in the aerial for this project site, there is an existing access easement or an access drive that provides as an exit point for this project site, but is accessed by the existing multi-tenant office structure currently, and there's an existing shared access easement agreement for that. Here, pictured in front of you, are the RV parking stalls. Approximately 19 stalls will be provided on site. This will be enclosed by buildings A to the north, building C from the freeway, and building D from view from the existing multi-tenant office building. Additionally, screening is proposed along here, which would screen some of that RV storage facility. And there are also ample landscaping surrounding the perimeter to screen some of that proposal as well. What you're seeing here is a segmented elevation view of building B. This is the north elevation. This is what's viewable from the residences to the north facing south. I've kind of cropped this exhibit in order for you folks to see the detail. This plane actually runs continuous, and I'll show that on the next slide. Just for the sake of presentation, I just wanted to show the height of the building. It's a little bit more focus and detail here. So what you'll see here from the base to the top of the rooftop, you're looking at approximately 29 feet. From the base to the top of the building with the architectural element there, you're looking at approximately 38 feet and 5 inches. A few of the architectural elements that are incorporated within the facade of this structure include stucco, split-face block wall, thin-set stone and metal paneling on multiple of the walls and planes there. The roof features a terracotta raised tile, and it's also a hipped roof and knee braces as well. A few of these elements make it more in keeping with the immediate surrounding residential development, which some of these features are seen primarily in residential development. It's also more in keeping with the existing multi-tenant office development to the south of the project site there. Additionally, there's faux windows to break up some of the wall plane and to provide more visual interest on this facade. You'll also see dummy doors, or that's what they're called, which provides some visual element there to sort of break up the mass in the plane for that facade. This is what the north elevation will look like. It's a continuous plane. It was just segmented in the previous slide, but this is what the viewpoint will look like from the residences facing south. Here you'll see the south elevation shown for building B. This is a 3-story structure again. This is just the viewpoint facing into this building, facing north for this building. You'll see here there are dark green roll-up doors that are featured. This will be where the tenants can access some of their storage units, where if it is facing inwards towards the drive aisle, this can only be accessed within the property once you pass the entry gates. This will not be accessible from the north or the east of the building. Here you'll see the west elevation for building B as well as the east. A few of these really tie in what you've seen in the north elevation as well. They've incorporated the dummy doors, which you'll see heading southbound on the Interstate 215. You'll see the east elevation when you're on Whitewood Road. There's some of that faux window as well as the see-through glass panels to break up some of the massing for that structure. This is an elevation for one of the 1-story buildings. This is building D. This is not viewable from the public right-of-way. However, the applicant has incorporated some of these architectural elements that are seen in the larger building towards all of the buildings proposed within this development. Buildings A and C also mimic this design, and they carry out the same design elements throughout the entire site. This is a rendering of buildings A, which is the 1-story building before you, as well as building B, which was shown previously. There's the access gate, which provides us the main entry drive aisle to this project site, as well as the entry gate that's pictured on there, or the entry pad. You'll also see some of the existing parking stalls here that serve as the office property to the south of the project site, and some of the parking stalls that are proposed for this project is also shown on here. This is the viewpoint, a more realistic rendering of what the residences to the north might see facing south. This is from their yard. What's not pictured on here is that 6-foot screen wall that's mentioned that runs about 2 feet away from the northerly property line, as well as the landscaping that's approximately 25 feet, about 25 feet buffer between the structure and that screen wall. There's 36-inch box trees that are planted along that side as well to offer some screening for the residences. This is the view from the freeway, another angle there. Here is a landscape exhibit for this property. You'll see that the perimeter of this property is bordered by landscaping. 36-inch box trees are provided on the north and east side of this project site, as well as the west along Whitewood Road. Smaller trees, 24-inch box trees, are planted in the bio infiltration basin that you'll see here. Anything that's green incorporates some ground cover as well as shrubs for this development. So they're providing ample landscaping. About 25% of this site will be landscaped, whereas the code requires only 20% landscaping within the community commercial zoning designation. Before you is zoomed in exhibit of the circulation pattern. You'll see here ingress, egress is provided through Whitewood Road. Primary point of entry to this site will be the northerly drive aisle there, and this project meets the turning radius required for a fire apparatus to go through the site and exit back onto Whitewood Road. So the RV storage as well as self-storage facility requires a conditional use permit approval within the community commercial zone. Hours of operation for this use will occur between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. This is the hours of operation for tenants. The facility will be staffed 7 days a week from 9:30 to 6:30 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. And there's about 2 to 3 staff members that will be present on site during these times. Each tenant is provided with a unique access code to enter at the entry gate to access the site. Lastly, 36 security cameras proposed on site to surveil the area and secure the premises. It is also important to note that there's an active entitlement on this property. We have a golf cart dealership and RV storage facility approved for within this project site. The case numbers for those is pictured here, DP-2017-1440 and CUP-2017-1443. Staff presented this project to the Planning Commission on May 23, 2018. Public comments pertaining to noise, lighting, and traffic concerns were expressed during the hearing. The Planning Commission denied the project. The decision was then appealed to the City Council, who overturned the decision, and the project was then approved on August 7, 2018. This project currently has an approved extension of time application. The case number for this is EXT-2020-2193. This is a 3-year extension of time approval, and the new expiration date for the golf cart dealership and RV storage is August 7th, 2023. In summary, the project meets the development code for a landscape area requirement, parking, design, setback requirements, and other development standards. The use for personal storage and RV storage facility is allowed within the community commercial zoning designation with a conditional use permit approval. The project also meets the general plan goals and policy. More specifically, it meets LU1 for land use element, looking to provide a complementary balance of land uses throughout the community that meets the needs of the existing residents and businesses, as well as anticipated growth and achieves the community's vision. The proposal provides a complementary use to the adjacent residential service that would be utilized by adjacent existing businesses and residences within the vicinity. Additionally, also meets LU 1.2 and LU 7.2 within the land use element, general plan goals and policies. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission takes the following actions. First is to adopt the environmental findings included in the resolution, which includes a finding that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act per the notice of exemption. This exemption is for infill development. Secondly, adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission approving Development Plan 2022-2483 and Conditional Use Permit 2022-2484 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A, Exhibit B, and operational statement in Exhibit C. This concludes my presentation. I'll be available to answer any questions along with Brian Stevenson and Dennis Watts here. Additionally, I believe the applicant has a brief presentation to answer any questions pertaining to operations for this development as well.
Thank you for your presentation. Now we'll take the questions from the commission members to the staff, and we'll start with yourself.
Thank you. You referenced on the presentation the 2018 storage unit that kind of went back and forth from Planning Commission to Council. Mm-hmm. Was that the public storage that's, I think, right next to this property, the orange one?
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Lavelle. No, this is not that same project. So public storage is directly south of this project site, whereas this particular project site was actually entitled for that RV storage facility as well as a golf cart facility. So this entitlement applies to this project site in discussion today. Okay. The public storage that was recently expanded is directly south of this project site. In the public storage, is it directly, do they share, is this a property line? Yes, okay. It's directly abutting this project. And this entitlement was given for public storage before public storage had theirs, or was that at the same time? Can you give me some context on that, Jared?
Yeah, in 2018 is when the original Prestige golf cart was processed and then went through an appeal. In November of 2019 is when the public storage expansion project came through, which the commission approved but was not appealed, if that helps answer. Okay.
How long has this lot been zoned community commercial? Do we have an idea when that general plan updated to that?
That's a great question. No, I do not know the exact time that this property has been zoned community commercial.
In looking at the history, Commissioner Lavelle, I believe at least, of course, since 2011, this has been zoned probably because if we look at the history of that zoning, the public storage was an existing. I would assume it's back to 1999, but by default, I'll say at least from 2011.
Okay. I think I'll go to the CUP. Can we bring that slide up, please? The call out for the CUPs they asked. Okay. The timeline. So if normally I think normal business operations for commercial would be 7 a.m. Why are we allowing a 6 a.m. opening for access? I guess is that it's a special consideration. And if we're allowing this or if they're asking for this, does Public Works have the same hours of operation, the same exact type of facility?
That is a great question. I do not know the hours of operation for Public Works. Typically, our noise ordinance for the zoning designation starts daytime noise levels to 7 a.m. However, this use is allowed at 6 a.m. The proposal to allow this use to occur at 6 a.m., I guess, is to allow tenants and customers to access this site before your traditional work hours. Typically, businesses within the commercial zoning designation and their operations between 8 to 10 p.m., whereas this operation's ending at 6 p.m. during those times. So it starts a little bit earlier than your traditional business time, business operation within that community commercial zoning designation. However, it also ends their operations a little bit sooner.
And Commissioner Lavelle, reading the staff report from November 13th, 2019 on the public storage expansion project, the hours Monday through Friday were 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday and Sunday 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think the difference, though, is that the public storage would allow access 24/7 with a fob, whereas the project that's before you tonight would just not allow any access outside of those hours of operation.
I'm sorry, walk me through that one more time. So Public Storage has 24-hour access, but they're open from 8 to 8?
Yeah, so some storage facilities, particularly the unmanned facilities, will provide you with a fob. So when you go up to the access gate, like at 2 in the morning, you can come in because you're an existing customer. New customers, though, have to wait to come to the leasing office when it opens at 8 in the morning to sign up with it. But there's different approaches by different storage facilities, and what we've seen is a migration to automation and 24/7. Because I think what some storage facility providers have found is that there are business folks out there that may need to access equipment because some people use storage lockers as their brick and mortar. So if you're selling hard drives, you might have to go pick up 2 hard drives to UPS it out the next day. But I think that's what you're looking at is that they do have set hours of operation for the proposal that's before you tonight, but not access during after hours.
So that brings me to my point of concern, I think, with it being so early. Let's say your business is selling dirt bikes or concrete saws. What would stop someone from starting up a dirt bike at 6 in the morning next to a neighboring house?
I believe the property owner, through their management, would have control agents on what types of activities you could do, meaning they don't allow you to work on a car. They don't allow you to do maintenance activities. It's basically a drop-off or a pick-up. Now, if they were picking up the motorcycle and drove it away, that would just be a normal noise thing. But I see your point. I think that they're looking at standard storage types of arrangements during normal hours. But 6 a.m., that would be within the purview of the Planning Commission to adjust if they should need to.
I see the merit in asking and having access to your own storage at 6 a.m., but I also know from my own, I've stored dirt bikes and I've started dirt bikes and I've sold dirt bikes out of storage units. And if there's not language to call out, you can't start the thing and show the person that it runs and it's loud and it's awesome. That would be my issue living next to something at 6 a.m. having that going on. So just want to make that noted, I guess. And that goes with anything that's loud at 6 a.m. I mean, this is, I think it was 30 feet away from the neighboring houses on the north. So On that same topic, I guess, the grading level picture that we had from the north facing south of the building, you had a fence shown there. Standard fence is 6 feet. The block wall is going to be equal to that, I assume. So it's really, you're going to not see a block wall at all. Is that how there's no grading behind that, I think, that's elevated?
Is this exhibit you were referring to, Commissioner?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Yes, so this, as shown here, there's different pad elevations when you're looking at the site plan, so I'll just scroll back to the site plan here. So as we head towards Whitewood Road, you're looking at a more steep slope, and there's a little bit more dramatic pad elevation difference between that residence as well as between that residence and the project site. It becomes relatively flatter over here as you head towards the freeway. With the standard height for a fence, as you mentioned, is 6 feet tall, and their screen wall is 6 feet tall. So that really primarily serves as, I want to say, a backup in case their fence falls, on their property. It's also important to note that I believe there's an open space area here as well. So that provides additional shielding there, but it's also important to note that there's some ground-mounted equipment down here that will be screened by that 6 foot tall wall. Not only that, it'll also provide some noise mitigation as well for any noise generated within those ground-mounted equipment.
So do we know, but I think 1, 2, looks like maybe 4 houses here, they're gonna have what was presumed a visual mitigation by the 6 foot block wall isn't really gonna be a visual mitigation at all because they already have that fence, correct?
So,
Unless there's elevation that's significant enough to make 6 feet
Sure.
viewable, right?
Let me scroll to one of my slides here that shows a better cross-section. So here you'll see cross-section D, which is kind of the midpoint between those 4 residences that are abutting the northerly portion of this property. You'll see here how drastic that elevation difference is. So at the top there, you'll see that there's about a 10-foot grade difference between one of the homes or that pad elevation where they're taking that cross section from, which would be approximately the 4th home from Whitewood Road, and the pad elevation to where the building's sitting. With that said, that 10 feet, if you could imagine, it would take 10 feet away from where you're seeing some of that building plane. So in short, you're only really seeing the 2 to 3 stories. So while it seems a little bit more drastic that it's a 3-story building adjacent to a residential home, there's that 10-foot grade difference that you're taking into account when that drops off to the project site. Additionally, there's a substantial amount of trees that are planted alongside there, which is going to break up some of that massing as well as provide additional screening for that tall structure adjacent to the northerly property line. Also to note, there's not going to be any access points for the tenants to access this building in between the residences and this building face, yeah. Okay. It'll be internal, so the impacts to the residences to the north is going to be minimal in terms of disturbance. Anything unsightly that they might see, it's shielded away between that slope elevation as well as the landscaping combination that's proposed between the facade as well as their property lines. There's also, when looking at the approved track map for this residential development to the north, there's a 30-foot slope easement there that creates a buffer. While it's an easement, it still serves as a no-build zone almost to really I'll show you.
So 30 feet from the block wall to the property line of the homes? Or the property line will be a 30-foot buffer between the property lines?
So, I'll show. So here we're seeing that, how did we get here? My apologies.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So here we're seeing that there's a 30-foot setback from the building B, the 3-story structure, to the property line. I was referring to another, which is the project to the north. Their track map is showing that there's a 30-foot easement from the shared property line to where their home is. And it's a slope conservation easement as well as a drainage easement that connects to the open space that you're seeing here.
Can you go back to that one real quick? Sorry. Sure. Go to the far right house, the northeastern house backyard. Go left a little bit. Left, right there. So there's a little rectangle north of that blue line.
Mhm.
Is that the backyard or is that the easement?
So the easement, I don't know, I can't speak for sure here, it's not factual, but I'm assuming that this dashed line here is that easement shown. I don't know if it's plotted, it's not clearly identified that that's the easement, but 30 feet from this property line is that easement I'm referring to. And if I switch back to this exhibit here, you're showing you're seeing an open space patch here, just south of that tract development. That open space, there's an imaginary plane running 30 feet here. There's a slope easement that's approved within that tract for access and landscape area and slope maintenance.
Are we sure on that? Because it looks like that's backyard.
Sometimes it's shown as a backyard, whereas in the plotted map, recorded map, it'll show as an easement. Although it's showing as a part of their property, doesn't necessarily mean they could build on that area. There's some restrictions with easement, such as for drainage and slope easements, that they are not able to build into that area. But looking from this exhibit, I'm not sure what that rectangular patch is that you're referring to over here. But just when looking at a recorded map for that northern tract, they're showing a 30-foot easement in the shared property line connecting to the open space easement.
I just want to make sure that it's not, because the open space to the west, I can see clearly,
Sure.
and that obviously would have 30 feet of buffer with an easement. To the east properties, I don't see how that's possible. I want to make sure that's absolutely there before it was approved. If you can go back to the grading slide for the, I think 1270 to 1280 was the difference, the 10 feet difference. Right there, yeah. So if I'm standing at 1270 in my backyard, there's going to be 30 feet, assuming that's the easements all the way through those four houses. There'll be 30 feet till it hits the elevation of 1280, which is the base pad of this new development, or what's currently existing, correct? And then from the 1280 will be the 6-foot wall. And so your line of sight, top of block wall will be 1286 roughly. Is that correct if I'm assuming that?
The section that's shown on here in the exhibit is not showing what that elevation is precisely, what that elevation precisely will be from the finished pad of the yard. What it's showing really is where that grade ends at the property line. So in terms of imagining where this property line is, it would empty out into the slope easement that was previously mentioned. So right at property line, you're looking at about a 10-foot difference.
Okay, so.
Finished elevation is 1267. And on Whitewood Road, it's at 1269.
Clarification for the chair. We will call up folks for discussion, but right now.
Yeah. Please
the
don't
conversation
have
is
any
with the guys.
comments from the audience. If we have them, they'll be called up at a later point in time.
Yeah, I guess I'd want to clarify that when the applicant comes up, that there's enough line of sight blockage from the property facing south from the residence that a 6-foot block wall is enough, considering they already have a 6-foot fence up in their backyard on that easement. And then I definitely I'm going to try to pull up my map phone real quick on those two properties that doesn't look like there's an easement, but I'll clarify that in a second.
Sure. So I actually pulled up the civil plan in front of me. The third home from Whitewood Road here. I'll go ahead and point my cursor to it. Be sure I'm pointing at the right one. So the one with a pool. So this one right here. The pad elevation shown for that property is 1279. Just for reference. So this cross section is approximately showing 1280, so it's not too far off from the third home here. The finished pad elevation shown on the exhibit that we have for the civil is 1279.
So that's almost 10 feet though.
It's almost
so
10
if you're saying it's 1270 at the home pad, it's actually 1279. It's closer to the pad elevation for the project site. if I heard you right.
So the pad elevation for the project site is 1268. Here it's showing that there's a slope increase when you head towards the property line where that cross section is. This is sitting higher at 1280.
Oh, the houses are higher in elevation.
The houses
Okay.
are higher, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed.
That's
I thought they
okay.
were lower.
The houses are higher, so you're looking at 1279. The cross section showing 1280.
Gotcha.
There's a 10-foot grade difference. So in short, you'll be seeing a third of the building there from this
Okay.
cross section when you're looking facing southbound towards the project site.
Okay.
And then for reference, the closest home right here, you're looking at 1276 is their pad elevation. We don't have a cross section there, but just to paint a better picture of how the slope contours onto Whitewood Road.
Okay. I'll ask the applicant some other questions about that block wall.
Sure.
Just a second. And just for clarity for myself, is the entitlement for the storage golf cart, is it the same owner that's had that entitlement, or
To my knowledge, no, it is not. It is not the same owner. There was a prospective property owner that's proposing this development in front of us.
And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Harlan?
All right, thank you. Looking kind of the prior history, right? So this went back 2018, and the Planning Commission did not move it forward. At the time, that was the golf cart dealership and a separate RV storage facility. City Council said yes. Any reason why it didn't go forward?
During the hearing, there were some concerns that were made in regards to noise and traffic concerns for that operation. So during the hearing, from the public record, it showed that that was the basis for why the project was denied. It was then appealed to the Planning Commission, or City Council, following that hearing.
And Commissioner Harlan, in speaking with Mike of Prestige Golf, he was the gentleman, or one of two gentlemen that got the original permit approved by City Council. I think they just didn't have the wherewithal financially to build. So the good news is that they're still in town. They've purchased a building down, I believe, on Jefferson, and they're active. And I think what they wanted to do is then sell the property, if you will. Not so much the entitlement, but the property. But I think it had to do with some financial commitments. I think that was the basis of why they did not go forward and construct.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking at now RV and personal storage facility, correct?
That is correct. Whereas it was previously entitled for a golf cart dealership as well as an RV.
Got it.
Parking or storage.
Thank you for that. So it looks like public testimony. I guess a couple questions. Have we had any additional feedback from neighbors or the public? And second point, it looks like making a left turn from the project site onto Whitewood Road was a concern. Has that been addressed, or have we heard from the public?
Could you please repeat your question? Was the question whether we received public comments for this particular project brought forth?
Yes, correct.
Okay. No, I have not received any public comments pertaining to this project.
Okay. And earlier, the concern of making a left turn from the project site onto Whitewood, are we comfortable with the current project that that's not an issue?
I would like to defer that question to our traffic engineer, Brian Stevenson.
Hi, good evening. I believe we are comfortable with that not being an issue, making the left from the site onto northbound Whitewood. That's on the outside of a horizontal curve, so the site distance is better than if it was a straight connection. I believe the concern previously that I was aware of was the close spacing of the driveway to Via Cuenca. It's pretty close driveway spacing to a traffic signal.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harlan. Number one, I have a concern also, as the commissioner previously mentioned, about the 6 a.m. start date. I believe 7 a.m. is more appropriate for a start date, and I would recommend that if we go forward with making a motion. It just, 6 a.m. is just too early in a residential neighborhood like that to start having that kind of traffic, even though it may be slight and may not be as noisy as we think. I just think that the hour of operation is a little bit too early. That's my thought on that. In regard to, if you could go back to the slide that shows the site. No, go back that, yeah. Now, that is the site for what we're discussing tonight, correct?
That is correct.
And what is to the right of that? Is that an empty development, or is that an easement for the golf cart storage facility? Or give me some indication as to what's to the right of that.
Sure.
In the red. In the red. Yes.
So the red here that you're seeing directly south of this project site is an existing multi-tenant office building.
Okay. And what is beyond that?
Beyond that, you'll see public storage facility, which is also directly abutting the project site to the south.
Okay, and then the next one is the shopping center area, right?
Correct.
Okay. So right butted up against it is an office complex. How many stories is it?
I believe it's a one-story structure.
One-story structure. Where is the golf cart storage in easement? Is there one there?
So as shown here, there's a shared access easement between this subject property that we are discussing tonight for the project site, as well as the existing multi-tenant office facility pictured here to the south of the project site. I just wanted to clarify whether your question pertaining to the easement was in regards to the shared access or whether it's north of the project site that you were referring to.
Okay. If all of a sudden the golf cart and storage facility came back to life, where would that be?
Let's see here.
In comparison to where we're at and in this project?
I will, give me one moment here, please. I'll pull up a site plan exhibit of what that previous proposal looked like. So, and compared to what we're looking at tonight, this is the current entitlement that's approved for this project site. Should they want to build this, the project site is approved to build what is in front of you. So featured here, you're looking at approximately 22,000 square feet structure, which is where the retail sales of golf carts will take place.
Yeah, I understand that whole thing. I was in on that particular discussion. What I'm trying to see is visually, where is this in relationship to the project that we're going over tonight?
So this is the project.
Do you have a visual that I could see where it is adjacent to the property, 2 blocks away from the property?
Well, Vice Chair.
I'm not quite understanding.
No, forgive me. It's literally the same footprint. And if I can walk you through this image, where we see on the south or the lower part of the image, it says existing building to remain. That's the one-story office building that Farah just explained. When you see this drive aisle, that's the same drive aisle in the current image. To the north of here, if you will, all of those RV outdoor spaces are where the 1- and 3-story buildings are being proposed now. And then where you see proposed building to the west, if you will, that is where currently RV is going to be proposed. So it's literally the same footprint of the same property. It's just that we would have less RVs and more storage.
Okay, thank you. Is there a limit to the number of RVs that would be in storage in this facility that we're looking at tonight?
Yes, the current proposal is for 19 RV parking spaces. This is what's pictured in front of you here. The proposal would be concentrated towards this area, which is located on the easterly and central portion of the project site. It'll be screened by the 6-foot-tall screen walls, as well as the surrounding 1-story structures and 3-story structures around it. 3-story structure, singular.
And when you talk about 36-inch and 24-inch box trees, is that the maturity that will transpire over time, or is that the height of them as they are applied for this project?
That will be the 36-inch box trees is pertaining to the size of the tree that they'll be purchasing and planting onto the property. In terms of what the maturity of the size of that tree, I do not know, but I believe it could range from 10 to 15 years to reach full growth there.
Okay, thank you very much. No more questions at this point in time before we go on?
Yeah, I'd like to the property line. So if you can pull up, wait, it was a blue line on the map. I think it was the best one we had here. Kind of right there, perfect. So on the site plan, that rectangle I was talking about, I'm looking at it here on Google Maps, and there is certainly some type of fence that is capturing whether it's their actual backyard or not. There's something going on there. And then this property site line is right up against it. So I do not see 30 feet of an easement, but for houses 1, 2, and 3, how that's going to be possible. And I'm like, it's pretty fenced in. So I see the pool that you referenced, and then there's another fence, and there's another fence that looks like there's toys or a garden even, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, there you
go. So thank you for that question that you have there. So I'm not sure where so going back to this exhibit here, I don't know if it was correctly plotted where those fences are. It's a little bit difficult to tell where their fence line sits in relation to the property line that we're seeing here and where that easement does run. I just wanted to provide some background information for the tract that's adjacent to this project site and where that drainage easement is, so I can paint a better picture of the distance approximately between where their structure might be and where their buildable area might be, and compared to where the shared property line sits.
So will there be a mandate of that 30-foot easement across that property line to the houses, no matter what happens? And then that 30 feet will come into the applicant's side, obviously. If that's a call out.
So,
No?
Commissioner Lavelle, so what probably occurred was that was a subdivision, like a tract map, and one of the conditions was for them to record an easement of, say, 30 feet in width on the southern boundary. There are times where property owners will make improvements or a fence will fall. And I think what you're seeing is there is a distance between this property line and the rear yards of the homeowners, but I have been called out to certain properties to investigate as to why they look at their title report and they say, no, that's my property, I'm paying taxes on it, I want to use it. And unfortunately, that's sometimes how it goes, is that if there was a requirement to do like a 6-foot CMU block wall that you see with a lot of subdivisions, then this would probably be a moot point. But I do believe there's an easement there. I just think that maybe the challenge is that some of those residents may or may not have made some aftermarket improvements in that area. I think that's where we may see a little bit of a gap. But I think you're making a good point. At the end of the day, there will always be a 30-foot zone between the rear of the structure and their own property line. The only thing that will be in that area is landscaping. There will not be any walkways, door entrances, or anything. So to me, that the 30-foot on-site is very good because everything's oriented inward. So noise will be on the inside of the structures, if you will. And there's no access for the public to go in the rear yard. So I think that at a minimum, they're going to have a 30-foot buffer, regardless of what they have on site.
Okay.
thank you, Jarrett. And that 30-foot buffer is shown here on this exhibit. So at a minimum, despite maybe some after market improvements made on those properties to the north, you'll see here that the building is still set back 30 feet from that shared property line, whether that's an easement or whether that's some other structures abutting the shared property line. There's always going to be that 30-foot, 29 to 30-foot setback between the proposed 3-story structure and that shared property line to the north.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. in the map view that I'm looking at with the lines. There's gonna be a lot of fences or pseudo fences having to be moved for sure. Because the Google map image is not equal to this blue line for sure. The entryway that currently exists, there's right north of it, there's a little sliver triangle that's not part of the development site. I think that's a backyard. I think that's maybe a upgrade fence or something. Is the entryway driveway being expanded at all, or is it going to stay as is here?
That is a great question. So I believe that the entry driveway will be staying at where it's currently improved right now. As you mentioned, there is a sliver from the northerly and easterly residential home that cuts into this driveway. We do have an easement recorded dated March 27, 2018, and an instrument number associated with that provides legal access, even though it's not necessarily within the project site. It's that residential properties sliver, if you will, going into the project site there.
Okay, and my last question / point of clarity, the north fence line, really the only one that's having to close proximity with residential homes, there will be no doors for access facing the backyards of the homes, so they'll all be on the inside of the property, correct?
That is correct.
And there will be a fence and probably an access channel, I assume a drivable channel behind, and that's about it? And there'll be block wall?
So in short, there's going to be a maintenance gate here that's shown. It's a little hard to see, but you'll see a maintenance gate where they can access this area to maintain the landscaping. However, that area will not be drivable. There won't be any access doors accessing Building B or even Building C around the perimeter there. All entry points of access to these structures will be taken from the internal driveway, and which can only be accessible once you enter the gates here, with the exception of the office door that's immediately abutting these 3 parking stalls here. You can gain access to the project site that way. However, there will be no drive aisles going behind the building there, and there's no access doors proposed there as well.
So a patron of this establishment cannot have their vehicle close to that north wall, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Now, what we want to do is open this to the public hearing. And it's now time to open the public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 6:53. Are there any applicants that want to speak from the public? Madam Secretary.
Yes. Peter? I'm sorry. Peter?
Hard last name?
Please state for the record your name.
Peter Nora. I'm the applicant. I'm with U-Store at Self Storage. Thank you for having me this afternoon, commissioners.
I think this is for public comments.
This is the applicant's opportunity at this point, and then we'll open it up to the public, and then the applicant will have a period for rebuttal.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate your time this afternoon. As I mentioned, my name is Peter Nora. I'm with U-Store at Self Storage. We are the applicant. We currently operate 8 other self-storage facilities in Southern California. We're a family-run business. It's my father and myself, and we operate under the brand U-Store It and manage our own self-storage facilities as well. We make a rather considerable investment in each of our properties, so we run a really tight ship. And I think that's one of the items that was alluded to earlier in regards to our access hours. We really don't permit access hours after our managers leave. At the end of the day, their job is to do final walkthroughs to make sure nobody's loitering, hanging out on the property, doing something that they shouldn't. It's one of the biggest benefits a property can provide is security to people's, treasures, their memories, their dreams, whatever they're using to store with us. And so that was sort of one of our access hour items. But in short, I could answer a few of these items that maybe were covered just momentarily ago, if you'd like me to dig into them a little bit.
You still have 13 minutes?
Okay, I'll be quick. 7 a.m. is certainly a time that works for us. If you would like to write it into the conditions of approval. Like I mentioned, we do not do hours after our manager leaves. Once again, we just want to keep a tight ship. Usually people aren't doing anything wrong in the morning. So we try to give that extra hour if people need to move or wherever they're using storage. Usually they're trying to get a full day's work in. So 7 a.m., if it's a more reasonable time, that is not something that we would balk at, and we can certainly work around. A few other items that were mentioned are, I know we talked about traffic counts. I know that was an issue. We did have a traffic study done. I think our average daily trips was 149. It's about the same usage as a cemetery. I mean, it's really low traffic volume. But in our COAs, there was a comment or a draft conditions of approval that if Whitewood Road had too much traffic, the city was allowed to impose a left turn lane into our project, which, to my knowledge, we signed. So I believe that item was covered. Am I allowed to hand you a photo, even if it's off the record? It's just took some photos today of, just so you can see sometimes it's a little bit clearer.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
We have a projector down there that they'll show you.
Might be more efficient. You could just put it right here and I'll set
Okay.
There you go.
Well, it just sort of highlights the grade differential of our property. So our finish floor on the northeast side of the property, right next to the 215, it's like 1267, and the northeast property, which you can't really see, but it'll be over there.
Is this, so the palm tree leaves, is that northwest or northeast?
That would be the northwest portion of the property. So that's the northwest. The northwest portion of the property is, we have 1289, 1269 at our northwest office, which is our finish elevation, and it's 1282 to the back of the fence line of that owner. So their fence line is 1282, so it's almost 15 foot change in elevation, and then we have a 6 foot high CMU block wall that also provides additional. So it is a 30 foot building, but you're cutting out, somewhere along the property, since there's a little bit of a slope, it's somewhere between 15 and 17 feet of the actual height is disappearing because of that grade. It's sort of recessed into the ground a little bit. And
This level here is the pad height of the property.
Yeah, the pad's gonna be graded right around that height.
Okay.
And yeah. So I thought I'd just cover that. And then we actually measured our building to the closest building. It was actually there's a property like right here. It's not the two on the corner. It's actually the middle building. There's 7 buildings that abut our north end property, and the middle building is like 12589 Sweetgrass Road is the closest building to our property, our north end building, 70 feet. So the house closest to our building is what I should have said, but the other property lines are 80 plus from our north elevation. And if you're thinking about what you're looking at from a backyard, if you're 80 feet, plus we only have maybe 12 to 15 feet above grade for them, it shouldn't be, we put in architectural elements, spandrel glass, stucco. Should look pretty much like similar residences. So that's a little bit about our development here, and a little bit about our organization. So be happy to answer any questions. I don't know if I do that now in my 15 minutes or if I sit down or however you guys
Questions
would like to
don't
handle it.
count in your 15. 15 is just your presentation.
Okay, well, that's all I have to say.
Can he answer questions
Absolutely,
right now? Okay.
that's at the commission's
Plenty of
discretion.
time.
That's at the commission's discretion.
At 8 minutes.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. On the, if I'm facing south and I'm in one of these backyards, when I'm looking at the building, are there going to be any use store it signage on that side of the wall?
No.
Okay, cool. And the block wall, the 6-foot block wall that's being proposed, is it going, where on this picture, is it going to go on the top of this graded, or the slope here, or the bottom part of the slope?
It's going to go at the top of the slope.
Okay, so that's going to be, like you said, I think at least.
I had jotted, I spoke with our civil engineer before this meeting, and we had we had somewhere between 15 and 17 feet above our final grade.
Yeah.
Was the back of the fence line. So if you remember, the fence lines have sort of drifted here and there. We were measuring from the back of the fence line because there is an easement of about 30 feet, and that's what we were trying to benchmark off of. What can they see from the back of their yard? And so that's where we measured.
Okay. Drifted, that's a great word for it. The easement, and maybe Jared, that's more appropriate for Jared to answer. Is it sloped or is it flat on this hill right here, the easement portion?
Usually when you're creating subdivisions, you want to end it not at the toe of the slope, but at the top of the slope. I'm assuming that that easement would be at the top of the slope, just from a design, because when you think about drainage and other things, you try to be careful that you either control the slope as a homeowner or the opposite owner has that. But forgive me, I don't have that crystal clear information, and bless you, Mr. Fisher. Bless you.
Sorry.
And then if you could, so the trees that are going in on this view here, they're 36-inch box that will also be planted, I assume, somewhere in that line of that block wall.
Yes, inside the block wall area.
Inside, okay.
Yeah, it'll be inside. That's our PL. The block wall is going to go on our PL, our north property line, and so we'll have about a 30-foot setback in there that we'll be doing our landscaping in.
Okay. Do you know what kind of trees you plan to use?
Not an not a tree expert. I do know that, actually, I believe it was even in the staff report that it does mention that the maturity of these trees can get anywhere from, I believe it was 25 to 40 feet. So it's actually rather tall trees, but I can't tell you off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And then the spacing between the trees, do you know anything about that? Because if it's 25 feet, if it's 40 feet tall, but it's only every 40 feet you have one tree, that's not really desirable. So I was just curious if I'm the neighbor and I've got a nice healthy tree line, then it kind of mitigates a lot of the visual line of sight stuff. But
we have the landscape plan is inaccurate. I don't know if I'm allowed to put this back down. Back up there. This is the north end property line. So there are trees that do run along the entire north. Now their spacing, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it does look like they're rather evenly spaced all the way across.
Yeah, the reality is you look at this and you look at there's maybe a couple inches between the tree canopies between this whole property line. It's obviously not going to be true. I was just curious if we had a more realistic viewpoint on what that's going to look like. Yeah. But that's fine. 36-inch box, I think. The minimum is 24, Jarrett, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and 36 is a very nice offering. The landscape architects take great time to look at the planted size, the maturity and growth, to make sure that you have a canopy. So a canopy on these trees, after 5 years could be about 25 feet in width. So from the center of the tree, you go out 25 feet, the other tree is meeting that. So not that it's a perfect screening agent, but what you'll find with an evergreen type of tree, which I think they chose, is that At full maturity, it will provide buffering and screening, meaning that most of the limbs will be close nearby, maybe not 100%, but that is the goal of the landscape architect, is to make sure that at the growth rate, it does provide buffering and screening. Just as you're seeing on the photograph here, where they have like eucalyptus trees and other things, as they mature, that has also provided some screening on their side.
Okay. And my last question, when you first came up, you said your company, you're the family business. Is it a franchise?
No.
Okay. So
You store it sometimes it's a common name. People don't. Sometimes it's with an E, or with without an R, or they just name it a million different ways this Sunday. But we are not a franchise. We do have. So as I mentioned, we have 8 properties that we own here in San Diego and LA. We're sort of filling in our gap. We're headquartered out of San Diego, and then 12 in Chicago.
Is this your first one in Riverside County, or will this be?
We own some land that we're working on right now in Winchester.
Okay.
Off Route 79, but this one would likely start before that one. Riverside County is a very slow municipality.
Okay.
Off the record.
And so you're saying
Maybe
Murrieta's
that's late. I don't know if I can say.
Are you saying Murrieta's better on the record?
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. I don't want to be too specific, but you said you really don't permit use after hours. Can you be more specific? Is it allowed or is it not allowed?
It's not allowed.
Okay.
When our manager leaves is when the property goes on full lockdown. And we have censored lighting, and you can't access the property without the key codes like most storage facilities if you've been in and out of one. What we've done in Southern California, and actually in other properties, just because of some of the demand it puts on a police or city services, or even on finding people that were doing things that maybe they shouldn't have been doing at a storage unit at 9:30. We're like, hey, we're not losing any business if we just shut down at 6 or 6:15 is because somebody's got to get their, they're already there, stay around. So we're just like, the good people are doing everything they should be in the morning. That's why we give an extra hour. We don't really need it. It was a request. Be happy to make an accommodation to move it to standard hours that Murrieta would like.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you for the project. I mean, the staff, and you did a great job putting this together. Thank you for being a family-run business. I think that's awesome. And thank you for the considerations you're willing to put forth if requested. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harlan, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Just a comment. I had an opportunity to visit the site, and it looked to me like the homes on the north, right? They certainly have freeway noise off that 215. So it looked like several had already raised their own brick walls. Others have some wood fencing that it looks like they're taking down and making some modifications on their own for that noise. From what I can see, from what you've shared with us, the trees, the walls you're doing, that's only going to continue to help them, reduce that noise. And 8 other properties, plus the others that you mentioned. Congratulations on a growing family business.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
I just have one question. In the staff report, I saw that you were going to open at 6 a.m., which we prefer 7, but the staff doesn't show up until 9:30. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How do I access the facility between 7 and 9:30?
That's for an individual that's already become a customer with us. So you've rented the day before, and then you have a key. You have a key code, so you have an access. So
it's a key code access.
It's a key code access. It's called a PTI security act. You sort of type it in. It's usually off of a 8-digit code. And you type it in and you can access through the gate to get onto the property before the leasing office opens.
Okay. Thank you very much for answering that. Thank you very much for putting together a facility that hopefully Murrieta will profit from, and you yourself will do good business from it. And the staff put together a great.
Thank you.
So next, if there's no other rebuttal, next we'll move on to the public testimony.
Lost your mic, Chair. There you go.
Next, we'll move on to the public testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have Any public comments, starting with proponents, opponents, and then those neutral, in that order?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:10 p.m. Bringing it back up to the dais, is there any other discussion or debate matter until, or do we have a consensus?
I'm good.
Good.
Yep. I'd like to make a motion if you're okay with that.
Seeing that there's no debate or discussion, it's time to call for a motion in a second.
Okay. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution DP 2022-2483 and conditional use permit 2022-2484 with some considerations I'll call out, and allow personal storage in a 105,508 square foot structure outdoor RV storage, fencing, lighting, and landscaping, and associated improvements on property located adjacent to Whitewood Road to the northwest of Los Alamos Road, parcel number, I don't have to read all that, there we go. But in the CUP motion of approval, I'd like to call out just the hours of operation going from 6 a.m. open to 7 a.m. open.
7 a.m. open, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to make a second.
Madam Secretary, can we call a roll for a motion in a second?
Commissioner Harlan.
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle.
Aye.
Vice Chair Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Let's continue on to the next public hearing. The next public hearing item, and thank you, by the way, staff, thank you very much for your presentation and the hard work that you do to put together these staff reports and presentations.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
It's something that we appreciate, and we know it's a lot of hard work and a lot of effort that you put in, and we are appreciative of it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fisher.
The next public hearing item is minor conditional use permit 2022-2486 for a liquor store. Are there any members of the Planning Commission that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item?
Nope.
Seeing none, so we will move on to the staff presentation. Staff, may we have a staff report?
Good evening, Vice Chair Fisher and Commissioners. I'm Dennis Watts, Senior Planner with the Planning Division of Development Services Department, here to present to you a minor conditional use permit for a liquor store. Joining me this evening is John Thieren, Sergeant with the City of Murrieta Police Department. The proposed use at this location is a liquor store located at 26696 Margarita Road. In addition to sales of alcohol, the business will also include other merchandise such as snacks, non-alcoholic beverages, and various other goods. The proposed hours of operation are from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday, 7 to 11 Monday through Thursday, and 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. In addition to the conditional use permit required by the city, the applicant is also required to obtain a Type 21 alcohol license with the California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, or ABC. This license type allows for sales of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The ABC has determined that the city is required to make findings for a public convenience or necessity, or a PCN, because the number of issued alcohol licenses within the census tract exceed the number allotted. I will discuss this in more detail later. Here's an aerial view showing the property as seen from the southeast, with the orange lines representing the location of the building where the business is proposed. Margarita Road runs north-south direction, and Date Street runs in an east-west direction Date Springs Plaza makes up 3 buildings along Margarita Road. The location of the existing suite where the use is requested is near the intersection of Date Street and Margarita Road. Properties surrounding the commercial center are primarily single family. Some of the areas on the exhibit you can see are not necessarily colored in that yellow color. Those are properties or houses that are within the city of Temecula. The use of the site for the liquor store is consistent with the Murrieta Municipal Code, Section 1644.030C2 and Table 16.10-1, which states that liquor stores are permitted within the neighborhood commercial zone with a minor conditional use permit. Up on the exhibit is a close-up of the Date Springs Plaza, and the proposed liquor store is located within a 1,400 square foot leased area in the building on the upper right-hand corner of the exhibit. Other businesses within the center consist of a optometry, a florist, barber shop, a couple food establishments, and a little more to the left-hand side of the building on the left of the exhibit there. It's across a drive aisle. There's also a 7-Eleven. For the alcohol sales, as mentioned before, the city is required to make a findings for public convenience or necessity because the number of issued licenses exceed the number allotted. There are 3 licenses allotted within the census tract, and there's 4 that are currently issued. The Development Code requires a greater analysis and sensitivity if the business is located within 600 feet of a park or school. This next exhibit shows that the business is not located within 600 feet of a K through 12 public or private school within the civic institutional zone, nor is it within 600 feet of a public park. Project was reviewed, conditioned, and determined to be found that the use would not create a significant impact on noise, traffic, nor would the use have an adverse impact to the public health, safety, and welfare on properties and the improvements in the vicinity. Project was conditioned to provide surveillance cameras in compliance with the code and to the satisfaction of the police department, and to limit the hours of operation with a closing time of 12 a.m. Project is also conditioned to require staff to obtain ABC-approved training and to prohibit loitering. This exhibit above shows the project site. It shows a red circle around that, which is your 600 foot distance separation. You could see a green dot at the top of the circle, which is a 7-Eleven. So there's one other business with alcohol sales for off-site consumption located within that area. You could see to the north more, you could see a gray area with some green. That is a Warm Springs Middle School and Torrey Pines Park. I think to the south, you could see a green shaded area kind of to the south right, east, and to the directly south, there's 2 other parks. And then up in the upper right-hand corner, there's the three dots which represent the other businesses that sell alcohol. And that's the Aldi, El Toro Market, and Speedway. With that, staff issued a 10-day notice of intent to approve with a tentative decision date of October 6th of this year. The Development Code has provisions where a member of the public can request to have the item be heard before the Planning Commission in place of the director's decision. In this case, a member of the public requested the item be presented to the Planning Commission and is here before you tonight. I would like to point out for clarification, this is not an appeal hearing here. Slide above is from the resident that emailed that provided their comments. This has been provided on the dais for your consideration. And due to the timing of the hearing, the resident is not in town and is not present tonight. That's my understanding, and we can verify with speaker slips. With that, Staff gives a recommendation to the Planning Commission to adopt the environmental determination and to adopt a resolution approving the conditional use permit based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A and Exhibit B. This concludes my presentation, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We'll bring it to the dais. And any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Thank you for the brief and concise presentation. The project site or the license it's going into a business that already exists, or is this a liquor store that's being built? Can you give me context there?
This would be a new business.
Would it be a new building, I guess?
The building is existing. I'm not sure what the previous tenant was, but this is an existing building.
So the existing building, we're sure didn't sell alcohol before?
Correct.
Okay. And I guess, can you define, on this, I think one of the first slides, the community kind of definition of over-concentration? What is there like a ratio, the math formula that defines that?
There is. I don't know the ultimate calculation, but it is a, let me see. So actually this exhibit above, it's a little tough to tell, but you could see an area that is kind of shaded with some kind of dark lines diagonally going up left to right, I think. So that's what's a census tract. So the census tract is established through a population area. So it is kind of based on population. So your census tract area may be larger if there's not a lot of residences. So it is based off of population. And then out of that, there is a number of licenses that are issued or allotted based on that population.
And does 7-Eleven hold the same type of liquor license that would go with this facility? Are they identical?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
Okay.
They might have just a beer and wine.
Okay. And then I guess that we have PD representation here. There was a small statement, I guess, from that analysis. Do you have any concerns about a liquor store being open so close to a residential area? Do you see impact to calls in other liquor stores around the city that you've been involved with?
No, sir. Basically, everything, I went through his email and the articles that he attached, and he's talking in larger cities, Baltimore, Los Angeles. In our city, I don't feel, especially this location, that's going to impact our calls for service by very much. It's all about location. And within our city, we don't have issues with just these single type, smaller liquor stores going in.
Okay. Thank you for the input.
You're welcome.
My next question is actually for Jarrett, Mr. Ramaya. If you could help me understand the liquor sales going till midnight on, I believe it was the weekend. Is that consistent with other liquor stores, or do other liquor stores in the city have constraints on hours of operation and sales?
No, thank you, Chair Lavelle. Our development code does not allow any store past midnight. There is different hours of operation. Some are 10 p.m., some are 11 p.m., some are midnight, but nothing can go beyond midnight. So I believe that might have been part of the applicant's strategy, is to adhere to the development code criteria, but of course not go beyond that.
So it's a development code criteria, but it's also a condition of approval based on the privy of the Planning Commission, right? And so
yes,
what I'm trying to get a feel of, because I don't know the answer to this, is this condition of request consistent with other liquor stores that have been approved in the city? Do we have any intelligence on that?
You know, I'd say that the commission sees a lot of uses, from gas stations to storage facilities. And on each one, the commission does have the authority to render the hours that they see fit. This is a neighborhood commercial zoned area. Not supposed to be the most intensive type of commercial. It's supposed to serve the immediate neighborhood. So For those, you don't typically see things late at night till midnight. You would see these kind of die down, but we do have a 7-Eleven nearby, and that's a 24/7 operation, as I understand it. So that's the comparison there.
And can 7-Eleven sell beer, or can they sell alcohol, whatever their license is appropriate, anytime, or is that 12 o'clock?
I believe they're still subjected to the midnight criteria.
Okay,
I think you can't begin until 5 or 6 a.m. Forgive me. Yeah.
6.
6, yeah.
Okay. And my last question for now, until the applicant comes up, is this, so is it a convenience store that sells liquor, or is it a liquor store, is there a liquor store that sells convenient items? How would you define this?
That's a great question, and I think I would have to probably package it more of, it's a liquor store that sells convenient items as well.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Commissioner Harlan.
All right, thank you. So looks like we're permitted or allowed to have 3 licenses in the area. We currently have 4. We're asking for 5. Would we be able, we're going to be sitting here next month, next 6 months, and be asking for 6 or 7 perhaps? Is there a stop at some point?
I think that's the discretion of the city, and that's where the over-concentration comes in of the State Department of Alcohol puts the onus back on the city to say, make these findings of public convenience or necessity. They have some criteria written in where it's asking the city to look at, are there higher crime rates in a certain district? And then if there's other higher crime rates, or if there's higher calls for service, then those are the discretion items that the city can make to say that it is a more of a convenience and not as much of a necessity, and could potentially be denied.
And Commissioner Harlan, where you see the red on the upper part of the image, if you go to the where's that square, Dennis? I want to show where the 7-Eleven was approved. That square red one on Murrieta Hot Springs Road. Yeah, more closer to Ollie. I'm sorry, that. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So your commission, I believe 2 years ago, approved a major use or a conditional use permit and development plan for 3 items. There was a car wash facility, a 7-Eleven, and a lube shop, I believe it was, on there. So to answer your question, Mr. Harlan, we may expect 1 more additional request for alcohol sales because of that 7-Eleven. A lot of times they don't come in with getting the approval with the entitlement because they may not be assured of when they'll actually get permitted and go construct. So they usually submit those permits before they submit their building plans. But we haven't seen that activity just yet. But just to answer your question, there may be 1 more alcohol license requested in this census tract.
So if we were approached by a Whole Foods, a Gelson's, a Bristol Farms, a Lazy Acres, we would have the opportunity to present and consider that.
Yeah, all fine establishments that you mentioned, all of them do sell quite a range of alcohol, beer, wine, and liquor. I think what's before you tonight is smaller liquor store. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why we see Aldi. That was a great addition to our area because it provided groceries to the east part of our town. That was a great addition for that site.
Maybe even Trader Joe's, huh?
I'm hearing that might come. Stay tuned.
All right, one other question here. Findings of public convenience or necessity, PCN, right? So granted, we're looking here within Murrieta, but not too far off, and I'm a retail guy. You got a Winco, and you got that Total Wine and Beverage, right? So there's quite a bit right there. If we approve of findings of public convenience, are you allowed 1, 2, 3 multiples? Do you play that card and that's the last one you get? Make sense? Does that make sense?
No, can you clarify?
So for example, if we were to say on the findings of public convenience and necessity, yes, and another project comes along, have we used our only findings of public convenience, or are we able to play that card again? Is that cleared up?
Yes, thank you for that. And yes, we could play that card again.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Getting the license is a requirement, but it is approved from ABC, is it not? Not from our city.
There are two different, I guess, actions going on. So one is the conditional use permit here tonight that does need to be approved by the city. The applicant also needs to go through the state and get an ABC or alcohol license. They can't get the alcohol license from the state if there is no approval through the city.
Okay. So the development could go south if they can't get an ABC license from the state. Is that correct?
That is a possibility, yes.
Okay. And then this is a business development area along with an office building structure in this area. What are the closing hours of most of the businesses, irregardless of 7-Eleven, in this area? Because as I see where this is going to be located, it's going to be all by itself at the end of a track of stores that are probably closing at 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't have a full list of the hours, but some of the business I did list, some of them look like they would close around 6 o'clock. There are a couple of food establishments, so they might close a little bit later, let's say 10. There are not a lot that would be open till 12 probably. Your 7-Eleven, which is a little bit of distance away, but within the same center overall, that would be open. I believe that one, it might be a 24-hour or at least till 12.
But that 7-Eleven has a lot of visibility from Margarita Road. Based upon where you showed me the site where this is going to be, can you bring that up? It doesn't appear to me to be very visible for them to be open that late when none of the other stores in that run or in Building A are not open.
Yeah, it may not have that same visibility as 7-Eleven. It is next to a Domino's, but lighting for the center, and who knows, they might have some signage on a monument sign that's present out on the street. But no, there are some other businesses that are closed, so it may not have that same high visibility as 7-Eleven does.
Okay, I'll ask the applicant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to open the public hearing at this time, which would be 7:33. And I'm going to open it up for the applicant to give testimony on the project. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And state your name, please, for the record.
My name is Faraz Mehta, but I go by Frank. It's a lot easier to pronounce and remember.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, I got butchered so many times, so we go by Frank easier. So I just want to start by saying thank you for you guys being here. Vice Chair, thank you for being here. My name is Frank, and joining me here, my brother-in-law Mark, and also my business partner. For the record, we concur with the staff's recommendation, and we did agree to all conditions that have been drafted. I really wish to be approved tonight to start my family business. We went to the residents nearby the store, and we did gather some signatures. A lot of them welcomed us. A lot of them agreed to the business being there, considering being a convenient store, which is like a neighborhood store. If you have any answers, I'm sorry, any questions, any concerns, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you.
Commissioner
Sorry,
Revelle?
I'm just a little nervous. This
No,
is
my
my
good,
first
you're
public
good.
hearing.
Don't worry
My
about it.
apologies.
You're doing
Welcome,
fine.
welcome, Frank.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Couple questions. Are you guys, you said this is a family-owned business?
Yes, sir.
You guys have other liquor stores?
Yes, sir, we
convenience
do.
Stores?
Myself, I have one in the city of Placentia in Orange County.
Okay.
And we do have several ones in the high desert, Victorville, Adelanto area.
Okay. And just, I'll get where I'm going with this in a second. Do you guys live here in Southwest Riverside by chance?
We live in Corona right now, and hopefully soon I'll be here, your neighbor.
Yeah. I asked that because with kind of the culture of this neighborhood that you guys are proposing to go into, if you drive around the area at midnight, it's probably a ghost town, right?
I agree.
So having those hours of operation extended until midnight, especially considering how close, I mean, the majority of what's around you is single-family homes, essentially.
Yes, sir.
Families and kids and things of that nature. So
I have 2 girls on my own, so I would love to go home early. It's just the proposed hours, just to see how the area or like the marketing would be during night hours. Not necessarily we're gonna continue with the same hours if it's not gonna be worth being that late. I mean, like we might change our hours to maybe 10 or 9.
okay, so I'm gonna walk through with you real quick in a quick Google search or map search. We have Cal Oaks Liquor closes at 11, Brand X 10, Bevmo 9 p.m. Sammy's Liquor is the only one that goes till midnight, and they're the only one with a 2-star rating, by the way.
I promise you, it's gonna be different with us.
The Marley Mart, I don't know what that is, but it closes at 8. Weston's Liquor, midnight. Liquor Depot, 10 o'clock. Bevmo, 9. And then it goes into Temecula, which is going to be a real close border to you. So are you open to a reduced hour of sales for liquor at this location if approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'll be more than happy to work with the city of Placentia and also
Murrieta.
at the PD.
City of Murrieta. Yeah.
Apologies.
I thought
City
we
of
were in
Murrieta.
Murrieta, not Placenta.
Sorry, Mr. Fish.
Where'd you get this guy, Jared? Come on.
He's doing good so far.
My apologies. I'm sorry. I would love to comply with with all conditions presented.
Okay. I'm going to just give you my thoughts of 10 p.m. so you can
Okay.
marinate that a little bit.
Now, when you say 10 p.m., are we talking weekdays or weekend or? Just to be fair on the safe side.
No, that's a good question. Weekdays for sure. I think I'd be a little more liberal on the weekends.
You're going home early, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you're open to it. I just, for my fellow commissioners, I'm thinking 10 on the weekdays, 11 on the weekends.
Okay.
Okay?
As far as opening hours, what do you have in mind? We had in mind 6.
No, I'd say 7.
7.
That would
Okay.
be my request.
So 7 to 10, and okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We do. I'm not sure if you have a copy of it. I do have letters of recommendation from the city of Placentia. One of them from
Murrieta.
Oh my God.
No.
No,
wait,
his
wait,
letters
this
are
one-
actually
this
from
one-
Placentia. His letters are actually from Placentia.
This ones are from Placentia this time.
Well, they don't mean anything to me then.
Mr. Lavelle, come on, please.
So you're saying the
Yes.
letters from your current businesses?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So one from the code enforcement, one from a sheriff, from a sarge in LA. Those are all my customers over there, and they put their reputation online for me because they trust me and they know how we deal with business.
Okay. I've never been to the city of Placentia.
You would love it. You would love it. You would love the liquor store more actually than the city.
But these are helpful. Thank you, and most importantly, I'm thankful of your willingness to hear what I think Murrieta is all about. And again, we're here as an advocate for you guys as business owners and also the residents to keep the current culture and what's the
It
general
would be an
plan,
honor
so.
to be here, to be honest with you. The family oriented, it's very family oriented, and that's what we like. Of course, it was pleasure dealing with Mr. Ramaya here, Mr. Watts, and I'll be honored to be here with you guys, like a part of the community.
No, I appreciate it. That's good to hear. Thank you for the thoroughness, and thank you for being here again, Frank.
Thank you,
To
sir.
the city of Murrieta. So-
Commissioner Harlan?
Not sure I follow that. No, first off, congrats, family-owned business, multiple
sir.
locations, multiple cities, and this is outstanding that you're looking at the city of Murrieta. You submitted a business plan.
Yes.
Is that,
They should have
in total, is that a summary? I mean, is that your working document, what you submitted that you're working off of?
I'm not following, sorry.
That's your operation statement, I believe, Frank?
Yes.
I know we're looking at general plan and permits and conditional use pieces. It's just as I'm looking at what you submitted, you're talking 1,400 square feet tucked away in the corner, right?
It's actually 1571, 1,571 feet.
Okay. You've got Aldi, you've got Winco, you've got 7-Eleven, you've got, Total Beer and Wine.
Mhm.
I'm just looking at what you submitted and, my concern is how are you going to compete?
Well, small businesses, it was never meant to compete with big chain stores. We have a new line of basically we're the new breed of like liquor stores where you're gonna walk in, you're gonna be welcomed, where you're gonna be referred to as like first name. But the difference gonna be with us is the higher end bourbons that we can offer, they don't have. The selection of the craft beer that we can offer to the customers nearby, they're not gonna have. The line of wine that we're gonna have in there, they might have some of it, but we'll have allocations. So far as competing by prices or numbers, I can't compete. But the variety and the selection we're gonna have, I'll be I'll be able to compete with them.
The 3 employees that you reference in store at all times, I assume?
Well, it's gonna be shift changes, but there's gonna be a few hours of the day where all 3 gonna be there.
Family members or
Yes, sir.
hiring from the city?
It's gonna be myself, my brother-in-law, and his father. To start with.
Okay, no further questions, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Being an old retail guy for 50-some years in my life, location, location, location
Yes, sir.
is the key to success. This location is a concern to me because I believe it will be hidden. So my question would be is, how are you going to get recognized against a competitor, even though you have your uniqueness, of like 7-Eleven that would have more visual exposure than yourself?
Thank you for your question. It's very simple. It's gonna be social media, advertisement on social media, Instagram, Facebook. There's a site called Untapped, and that's for beer lovers, if you want to say. From craft to whatever special releases they have, we'll have that there. Signage, of course, the one approved by the city. And it's going to be mainly word to mouth. It's a busy shopping center. The work going to get out quickly. We have Domino's there. We can have lighting, outside fixtures.
Domino's is on a corner. It's not next to your facility, is it?
It's literally across from us.
Across from you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I'm very familiar with that center.
Yes, sir.
And there's an office building there that I know about. And I'm just, the visibility and your success are a concern to me because I want you to be successful, especially a small business.
Thank you.
Privately held. It just concerns me. I have the same concerns as the other commissioner regarding your hours. I just don't think being hidden like that, you're more subject to possibly exposure to crime more than being on Margarita Road, let's say, like the 7-Eleven. So that would concern me. I know the police department is there and they don't have any concerns regarding the facility, but those are just my concerns. But I would absolutely concur with my fellow commissioner regarding the hours being less than midnight.
Yes, sir.
Are we allowed to sell liquor at 7 a.m.?
Yeah, I believe it begins at 6 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
It starts at 6 p.m.
Okay, so we can sell liquor at 6 a.m.
So we'll do 7 to 10. Yes, sir. You got it.
Okay, all right.
And then just to put your mind at ease, we do also have our set rules, like, going to our businesses, where we don't allow anybody with an open container within premises, and we make sure to force that. We'll always keep an eye. We're going to have security cameras around the building, and it's going to state signs outside of the building also showing that. There will be no smoking around the area. We're also going to make sure of that. Of course, all IDs will be checked. We can have our POS system programmed to that. No loitering, of course. That's a sure thing. We like to keep it nice and neat. I don't want to do anything to ruin the image of of the community. I would like to keep it the way it is and be a part of it. And you're not going to see no one outside hanging out, like solicitors or nothing like that. We'll make sure of that too. If you walk in there, you're a little buzzed or slurring words, you'll be refused service, regardless, if you're of age or not, just to keep everybody safe too.
And I have some good feelings about that because of the family being involved as the associates in the store.
Yes, sir.
Instead of a lot of younger, inexperienced individuals that don't represent the family as well as your family would represent yourself.
Yes, sir.
That's very important.
Thank you.
When you talk about the difference between liquor and convenience, give me an idea of the percentage of convenience versus liquor, and of the convenience, what does that consist of?
Well, the convenience will be like, you wake up one morning, you have no milk in your fridge, and you want a quick bowl of cereal. Why drive 1.7 miles or like a mile away? Why you just run real quick to the store, grab your gallon of milk, and go back home to your TV, news, or whatever you're doing at home. We'll be having non-alcoholic beverages, like anywhere from your milk to waters, juices for the kids, eggs, cheese, just like necessities that you don't want to drive all the way to the market, wait in line for it, come back home. Right down the street from you, you come to us and you get it.
Are you pretty convinced that the ABC requirement will be met and that you would get a license?
The license is, at the moment, it's on hold. We do have a license ready. I'm just waiting for the approval. Once I get the approval, then the license will transfer to the location.
So you already have a license from the ABC
Yes, sir, I do.
commission?
Yes, sir, I do.
So all you're waiting for is this conditional approval?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm waiting for.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your...
No, thank you very much. And I really appreciate you guys being here on such a night where we should be at home, getting ready for tomorrow. So.
Well, that's what we all told.
I have a couple more things. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
They're real quick. What's going to be on the outside? What is the name of your convenience store?
It's going to be Murrieta Liquor.
Say it again.
Murrieta Liquor.
Maria? Okay.
Murrieta Liquor.
Oh, Murrieta. Oh.
Murrieta Liquor, yeah.
Murrieta Liquor.
Not Placentia.
We're going to represent the neighborhood.
I would deny it if it was Placentia Liquor, just so you know.
Come on.
And then I think PD might have more intelligence on this, but so when you walk into some of the liquor stores I've seen, there's a lot of nicotine products and a lot of CBD and a lot of things that sometimes cross the boundaries of what's considered legal and very close to, I guess, marijuana derivatives here. Do you guys plan on selling CBD products?
You're not allowed to. When you obtain license 21, you are not allowed to have any symptoms like that in there.
Good, thank you. And then last thing, you said you are going to specialize in things that other stores won't have. And so the advantage of being a small business is going to be the mobility of having those different items.
Yes, sir.
Murrieta has a great population of craft beers. I would recommend you get to know a lot of those brewers and probably maybe have some of their product. That'd be a great way to get to know the community. Just
Exactly what I'm planning. I would love to support my locals. It does not matter where. Here in Orange County, once I become a part of the community, of course, I'm gonna start supporting my locals like they kind of support me. So far as mingling in the community, I promise you that would not be an issue. On the craft note, though, I have like over 63 companies that comes to the store over there. So
oh wow! No, yeah, I was just giving kind of a background. I mean, in Murrieta, I've seen so many microbreweries come up, and it's become quite the scene here. So
yes, sir.
If you are going to focus on that, I think you're coming into an opportunity to take advantage of you being a smaller company where you know you're not a franchise and you don't have to get approval to have the smaller craft beers. You can kind of do. It'll be a cool opportunity for you guys
Yes,
to see what's going on here. So,
and you guys will be more than welcome to come in. It'll be will be my pleasure to see you guys in there, just to see it, just to show you how we run business and how clean of an operation it is.
That's good. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Mr. Lavelle. Appreciate you.
Commissioner Harlan, you had a question?
Yeah, so just as you built this business out and you did a bunch of research, right? Obviously, you're going to put some investment in and things to get this going. Thinking of that ideal customer that you're trying to target, what's the gender, income, and age? What's the sweet spot for your business?
Honestly, there is no certain gender or age, to be honest with you. I mean, a 12-year-old could come in to buy a bottle of water, and that's a profit right there for us. Or a kid that walk in with Mr. Lavelle soon and buy a sucker, that's a profit for us. But we're not targeting a certain group, certain age or gender. But honestly, I'll prefer anybody over 21 to buy, their beer and the liquor.
My kids don't eat candy.
I have juice.
All right, I'm good. Thank you.
You will not be selling any smoke. What's this young people that they
vape?
Vaping. You won't sell any of those products as part of your accessories, will you?
It's going to be a tough answer because as of now, the beginning of the year, it's going to be eliminated. It's not going to be allowed to sell in the state of California.
That's what I thought.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But
hold on.
Yes.
Clarity on that. I think that's the flavored.
The flavored,
not the vape. He's asking just straight vaping.
Well, straight vaping, they do have a non-flavored, which will be okay to sell, but the flavored ones soon will be banned here in California.
So you will be selling vaping products, just not whatever is disallowed by the state?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your willingness to take the questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nerves settled down perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you being a small business owner.
Thank you.
One other question. Why did you choose Murrieta?
Their reputation precedes it. Huh?
Can you come up to the microphone? And state your name, please, for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Mark Abdelnour. I am his brother-in-law. He's married to my sister, so gotta handle him all the time. A little. Okay. Yeah. See, it's multiple reasons why choosing Murrieta. He have talked to me about other locations many, many times, and I refuse all of them. But then when he told me about Murrieta, and I saw with my own eyes, I was like, this is the spot. This is where I would leave my job and start the business with you. First, the safety. This is one of the safest cities in California, and I think I appreciate the work that is done by the police department and the sheriff. Second, it's actually more of a real community to me, honestly. I have worked in a liquor store for 11 years. And during this 11 years, I wasn't in one spot. I worked in San Luis Obispo, and I worked in San Bernardino. I worked in Yucaipa, and eventually I'm working in Riverside with my uncle, just helping him right now, because I used to work for him for all the time. But what my point is trying to say is I did a survey in this neighborhood. I have seen all the competition that is quite a bit far away. I would say at least 0.5 mile away from us, all this competition is focused. While in this location specifically, there's a 7-Eleven that does not have liquor, does not have craft, does not have certain kind of bourbon that people would love. Maybe like Blanton's, maybe like, sometimes a lot of people nowadays like drink Don Julio 1942 and Class Azul and all this stuff. And it's not available at the moment in, would say, radius of 0.5 miles. And the most important than that, this location, to me, honestly, it opened my eye right away because it's right in front of a Domino's. Domino's open till 12, if not mistaken. And next to it, there's the ice cream, our friend, Moni, and he opens till 11. So until, let's say, 11, this store or this location still have life. We are planning to actually put the sign, a big sign on the store. We will apply for the permit as long as we get the approval for the conditional use permit. And also we will put the sign also on Date, like the side of Date Street, where we would like to, the light should be within the terms and conditions of the conditional use permit, of course. It will be showing to all the houses. So therefore, everybody will know this is a liquor store. And most important of all, this location is a bit far away from the freeway. And me working in liquor stores all this time, I've seen the most dangerous spots for a liquor store or maybe a 7-Eleven or gas station. Is good for it to be next to a freeway. But for when it comes to a liquor store, it's more better if it's in a neighborhood, as it's less dangerous in such places. While the city of Murrieta itself is safe, but we don't count, hopefully we will not see any violence, because if there's violence to happen, it's most likely to come off the freeway from other cities, not from this one.
Thank you.
That's all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Frank, is he your spokesperson?
He's my brother-in-law.
One of the reasons that this city is so safe is that, number one, we have a great police and fire department.
Yes.
But predominantly, one of the reasons why is most of our officers live in the city. So they know the city very, very well, and they're able to respond quickly. And I can't think of a better place to put a business if you're feeling that you want safeness. That's Murrieta.
Yes, sir, it is. And we are it will be our most pleasure to be here and like a part of the community.
Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Any
it.
further questions from any? Nope. All right. Next, we're going to move on to the public testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments stating with any proponents, opponents, and then those that are neutral in that order?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, any public testimony? We're going to close the public testimony at 7:58 p.m. And I'm going to bring it back up to the dais for any debate or discussion. Commissioner?
I have nothing but an urge to make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make that call out.
Okay. All right. Seeing none, it's now time to call for a motion in a second.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt the notice for existing development pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, Guideline Section 15301, and adopt a resolution approved by the Planning Commission with the City of Murrieta approving minor conditional use permit 2022-2486 and implementation of CEQA exemption section number 15301, existing facilities, including findings for the public convenience or necessity based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval, Exhibit A and Statement of Operations in Exhibit B, and with the modification of hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
What did you say? Friday and Saturday.
Oh, so Sunday through I'm sorry, I'm going to restate that. The hours of operation being Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. In the city of Murrieta, yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Madam Secretary, can we please do a roll call for the motion in the second?
Commissioner Harlan.
Aye.
Commissioner Loyal.
Aye.
Vice Chair Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Let's continue with city planner comments.
The Planning Commission has rendered 2 decisions tonight. Item number 1 was approved, and also item number 2 was approved by the Planning Commission. Both are appealable to City Council. If there's any members of the public in the next 10 days that would like to appeal this project, please contact staff or visit our public counter. We're reopening on Monday. Back to you, Chair.
City Attorney, any comments?
None, thank you.
And one last time back to the commission. Any comments?
I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving holiday with your families.
I will second that.
I want to thank staff again for all your work that you do day in, day out to provide the subject matter and the content for the Planning Commission to be able to render decisions. I also want to highlight, since they're here, the Police Department of Murrieta is fantastic and one of the best in, I guess, the United States, because we're safe. So I want to say that, and then I want to thank my commissioners up here for their questions. And if there's no further business, may I ask a consensus to adjourn the meeting?
You have that from me.
And the meeting is adjourned at 8:01 p.m.